Good, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're up and going.
All right.
So I think we should introduce our committee at this point.
Yes,
Rob Levash, chair of the
so they call the
CPC.
meeting order.
Call the meeting to order.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you should probably say this.
yeah.
is
This is the CPC meeting of
February.
February 15th. I'm going to introduce the committee. I'm Rob Levash, chair of the CPC.
Peter Jackson.
Jenny Russell.
Tom Callahan, representing the Affordable Housing Trust.
Rich Bueller, representing the planning board.
Linda Well, representing Historic Commission.
Ted Carroll, Park Commission.
Good evening. I'm Wendy Garpo, representing the Conservation Commission.
All right, tonight, as listed on our agenda, we do have the opportunity for anybody who wants to speak from the public. If anyone's here and wants to speak, please raise your hand on Zoom. All right, I don't see anybody. So next call to order is the meeting minutes approval from February 8th. So I made some edits. I know a few others did too. And so I believe those are all set now. So I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Roll approved. So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. I'll just go buzz through this quickly. It was here we are on February 15th. The most important thing is that next Wednesday is the meeting where we will debate the projects as well as make our final recommendations or no recommendations at that meeting. I know on here it says it's at the Milton Library. It is, I believe it is here in the same room.
Is it also a hybrid?
It will also be a hybrid because I thought it worked really well last time, but it will.
I just don't. You should just have it be a regular public meeting. If you're gonna be meeting in a room, just do it.
Okay. It might already be posted as a.
Yeah, it's
Was it or no? Oh, it hasn't been posted at all.
Okay.
Okay, so we can post it in person meeting.
And will it have any kind of citizen speak or?
No, that's just for us. So
Okay.
literally the public has their opportunity, the last meeting as well as this meeting, and that's literally for the committee. It's still a public meeting, but it'll be for the committee itself. And then as Kathleen was talking about, we need to draft articles for the town meeting. So we can, we're gonna have to discuss that next Wednesday. As well as like letters and everything would be good, just like we did last time. I think if the three of us could divide up and then get out the letters and all that.
Rob, if it's not going to be a hybrid meeting, could we just ensure that we have a quorum? 'Cause I know unfortunately I'm out of town. I was planning on zooming in.
Oh, if you're gonna zoom in, then I think that's the reason to have it, then that's the reason we should do it. I think we should, my own feeling is that I would like you, if you can zoom in, I'll keep it as a hybrid. And you can zoom in, because that way you can participate. If not, you can't participate in it. She'll be able to zoom in and participate in it if it is a hybrid meeting. Sure, you're out of town.
Correct. Yeah, but I don't want to take the chance of having to cancel the meeting if the Zoom doesn't work.
We won't cancel. I think tonight was just a snafu and, hopefully we'll get it.
Can you call in
It'll
as
be fine.
opposed to a Zoom?
Good comment.
I think you can call it, I don't think you have to have it on Zoom. No.
I use Zoom on a daily basis if we have the, right, the password. I'm fine. I think it'll work and it'll be fine. And so for that reason, we'll have it as a hybrid and you can participate and all members should have that. I want you to be a part of that meeting
Well,
because that's
thank
an
you.
important meeting.
I'm happy to call in though. too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
So just on that, so will we need another, so obviously we'll be making our decisions on February 22nd. Then there will be the drafting of the warrant article. Do we need another meeting to approve the warrant? article drafts?
I would think so.
I'd probably, yes, and
No, I don't think you do.
do we need it?
With both the projects. that
And then
you
that's
want to
gonna be it, right?
vote. And the actual text of the committee, of the warrant committee article is done usually by, town council or, that sort of
Whatever.
thing. It doesn't have to be voted, you're voting to go ahead with the project.
The content
Ask this amount of money for this project, the text of the article.
doesn't have to be voted by the board.
And what part of money the money comes out of.
Hmm?
And what part of money the money.
Exactly. That's the two
Right.
parts, but the text of the vote does not have to go through this committee.
Okay,
Okay,
So. Next week's is really important, but I do think we should have another meeting on, like, it's coming, like March 1st would be good to open up the eligibility again. And I think there is still business to be had.
right.
I think there's still business to be had, so I think we should keep it and whatever, but I do think, because we're so far behind that we need to get those, the drafts out, and it's pretty set, I don't, like, the template's already out there, it's just filling in the information that we have to.
Yeah, but you're already late on that.
Yeah, we're like, yeah, so. I won't go over the budgets, we went over that last time, I won't go through that, and then the scorecard, as you guys, you should have all. Julia, did you give everyone the scorecards now? Okay, and so, like I said, as long as if everyone can access it or anything, that's good, just write your name, send it back to me after tonight. It would be nice by like Friday, if you could get it to me this weekend. With the Excel file, just put your name, send it back to me, and then I'll get that updated for next week. All right, so. We're 12 minutes late, but not too bad with timing, considering, so the Turner's Pond Path improvement project. And Pete, you wanted to say, or
Since I'm involved in that project as a consultant with the park department, I'll be recusing myself. So I'll leave the room for your discussion and things like that, and let me know when I can join you again.
yeah, we'll come get it.
you're gonna be.
Or Julie will come get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can come up.
Thank you for everyone for having me here. Thank you for everyone being here.
For the public, you should probably introduce.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Kevin Prism. I am the park director. Town of Milton. So, as you know, Turner's Pond is an important environmental, recreational, and educational resource for Milton. The path is extensively used for walking to Glover School and Milton Academy. It's used for running, walking, dog walking, nature observation, and the pond is used for fishing and nature study by schools. The current path surfaces were constructed in 2010 and have been impacted by heavy use, high water levels, erosion, and compaction. The current project is designed to reconstruct the most degraded areas of the perimeter path to a year-round dry and accessible condition for the benefit of all users. Project includes reconstruction of approximately 1,150 lineal feet of the perimeter around Turner's Pond, an important pedestrian connection as well as recreational and environmental resource for the town. The project will raise elevation of the most deteriorated sections of the path and remain dry and accessible. The new surface will include a natural binder material to stabilize the surface and ensure an increased design life for the path. The addition was made at the request of the Conservation Commission to improve path performance. The project accomplishes several outdoor recreational goals identified as the community preservation plan. One, improves connectivity, access, safety, and function of recreational resources throughout the community that serve residents of all ages, interests, and needs. Create and expand bike and pedestrian paths to connect neighborhoods. upgrade existing parks, include athletic facilities to improve utility. The proposed changes to the path will reduce flooding and increase accessibility year round. This project is an upgrade to the compromised accessible walkway due to erosion and wear since the path was last reconstructed. We are very excited for this project, and I am here to answer any questions that you have, and I can answer them to the best of my ability.
Thank you. The members have any questions? Danny?
So is it reducing flooding by, is it raising the
Yes.
path in certain
It's-
areas?
it's
Because I know
gonna be- yes.
I'm a frequent walker. And
So if you're going down, say you're at Central Ave.
Yeah.
And to the left,
Yeah.
and you go down, you know, I was there the other day.
Yeah.
And it is
Pretty much,
low,
yeah.
and you can see roots. It's gotta be raised up.
Right.
Have you done a projection of how high you think the pond could get?
I have not, no. I could ask people who I'm working with that question.
I'm just wondering if that's a consideration in terms of how.
Well, what we do is we continually clean out the catch basins, because if they back up, the pond tends to rise, so that's the park department, that's our job to do that, and we do it the best we can.
Yeah.
So we have grates around the pond, and we're constantly in there getting out all the debris and sticks.
So the last time you did this was 2010.
Intent, yes,
So do you estimate that this renovation will last another 12, 13 years?
longer,
Because,
because it's a better product that's going in there, and we're raising it higher than originally we did in 2010.
and you don't think it needs it all the way around?
Only in certain places on the other side. That's the high side to the, as I call, if I call Central Ave. To the left is the bad side,
Yeah, yeah.
and to the right, there are some areas over there that need to be addressed as well.
I see that one of the items that we're supposed to talk about or address is additional funding through public and private sources.
Yes, we secured $25,000 from state Senator Walter Timothy, and Copeland Foundation contributed $50,000 to the project.
So does this need multiple bids?
That we're gonna
Project?
have to put it up. They're gonna, yeah,
Yeah. So this estimate is, we don't know.
it's an educated guess that would go off what happened in 2010, and we're going less of lineal footage than we did then.
I think that's some of the work that Pete does too. He gives him a good
It
estimate,
was pretty,
a good estimate of what he thinks it's gonna cost. Pete's pretty good.
And how long will it take to actually do once you start?
Probably 2 months. So we ideally, I thank you for bringing that up. We would like to start late July. Or mid-July, actually, because we don't wanna conflict with the schools going to school. So if we possibly can do it in, the middle of summer, and we'll be ready by Labor Day.
Yeah.
Would be great.
And the benches,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So almost done here.
Before the benches, will you close, will it be closed?
Yes, it will. So the left side will be closed. You'll have to go to the right. And then once the left side's done, we'll close the right.
Okay.
The right will not be as extensive.
so you'll phase it so people can still use.
We will not close everything down, yeah. So we're gonna put 5 benches throughout the pond. If you've noticed, there's 2 or 3 there right now that are older than dirt. So we're gonna have new benches go in and a picnic table, that grass area off of Central Ave, as you pull in to the left, which we think is a nice idea where families can hang out.
So the project, right now, the paths, are they not accessible? Or are this project will make them accessible?
Yes. People who use it frequently will know that when it rains, it's bad.
It's accessible now. Just when it, but it's beaten up.
it's not comfortable.
So it's,
Yeah.
the path right now, it's. That's it, right? So
Yeah, that's the right, that's, I call it, I'm sorry, but that's, if you're looking at Central Ave, that's to the right, that's the big beech tree. That's to the right. So this is the opposite side.
It's the better side of the path.
Yeah, that's the much better side. So where am I here? That's Central Ave. That's just, this is where extensive is gonna be.
So most of it's
This side, right?
that side.
Sorry.
No.
Kind of the path directly from Central to Glover. basically.
Correct, yeah.
I have a question. Kevin, is this something that you anticipate will need to be done repeatedly as time goes on for upkeep and maintenance?
Definitely for upkeep and maintenance. We are gonna leave some extra material up at the town yard, so the park workers, if they see something, they can use the material and add to it. The proper material is important for this project. Not using whatever is available is really important.
So I just want to also add, I live 2 houses down from this, so I use this all the time. So just, it is a highly used path and park for sure. So any upgrade to it will be, is really important.
And,
We
okay,
have to characterize it as a restoration and an improvement. It cannot be used for maintenance.
yes, correct.
CPA money can't be used for those purposes, but we have the article drafted in a way that says that this is a capital improvement, correction, and, all the installing the benches and all that kind of stuff, then makes it more CPA approvable. If it was just putting down, maintenance, that sort of thing, would not work. This property was not acquired with CPA funds.
Yeah.
So you can't be using the CPC money for this sort of regular maintenance.
But this is definitely.
Yeah, this is definitely not, yeah.
But yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
We are
it's,
characterizing this as.
Okay,
As restoration and improvement.
yeah, and that's how it was submitted, so.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
All right, thank you
you.
very much, everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Milton locked up.
You want to wait, man, you spell multiple, I'll wait, Kevin's done.
Okay,
Yeah.
he might be, it's kind of his night, so.
We're gonna get those meetings.
Yeah, he's coming back.
I'll stand you, sir. Wait, I'm on this one too much. More than I want to be. Good evening, how are you? Can I comment a bit on what he just spoke to? Kevin's Brian project? It's a little bit of history. The Turner's Pond, for many years, Turner's Pond had no path, to your point, had no path at all. And it was a joint effort, it was actually a significant grant, two entities, a private one, and DCR actually committed, I think, $50,000 or $75,000 to creating that initial path. Many years ago, even before I was police chief, I was a deputy chief, there was a vicious crime of a woman that happened there on a Sunday morning. And part of the difficulty was, if anyone remembers it, there was no access, you wouldn't have walked over. You had to walk over roofs and it was really, really poor, and from the time that path has been created, to the point you made about it, how highly used it is, it's almost like a road. Part of the need for the restoration is because it's so used by residents of the community that it's reached that time where it needs that restoration. So for me, when I think about with that pond, that is really one of the best things the town's ever put there, and the best 50 years. So, my 2 cents on, not that I claim this being, and I'll give it here at the Historical Committee, Mr. O'Donnell.
I'm not sure we can add, I can add a whole lot more than what you have in your application. We all know the physical condition of the property. It's been deteriorating for years or hasn't been maintained for years to the extent where the work that is required today to preserve what's there is greater than it might have been a number of years ago. But as we all know, the yacht club lease provided for them to maintain it, and they haven't. And as with everything else, it falls back on the owner of the property, which is the town. It's a very expensive project. It's a very vital project. It is one of the 3 oldest buildings in town. It is one of the oldest lockups anywhere around. It is certainly worthy of being preserved, particularly with the efforts that are being expended by the landing committee to try to revitalize the area, bring more people in. And as I think we said before, a commercial tenant leasing that building would be responsible for building out the interior. Nobody is going to spend money in that building with the exterior the way it is. You know, the window frames are falling apart, the bricks are falling, the mortar's coming out. Building will fall apart, and the town will have another great loss of a public building, and we know it would be the first. Look at the town farm.
Can you speak specifically to the work that you're gonna? This is basically what you consider like a 2-phase
Yes.
project, right?
Right.
So can you, in this first phase, can you just explain the elements of the building that'll be up?
Well, the main thing is the brick. The bricks are popping out. It has to be totally,
Repointed. Well, I don't know if repointed is the word, but
it,
refaced?
repointing plus.
Yeah, okay.
Because some of the bricks have actually been pushed out by the water getting in behind. So, so they've got to be put back in place. The windows, the window casings are literally falling out. They're rotted. You can see where the wood frame meets the granite sill. It's
So it's the brickwork and the window work that's gonna happen
I
first?
believe that's the
This
first.
year, if you want.
And then is it the roof that's gonna be?
That's something,
That's
that's something else later.
phase 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the bricks and the windows. You know, the roof was repaired.
It's in
3 or 4
pretty-
years ago. It is watertight
Okay.
now, but the walls are not.
Can you explain a little bit about whether you are with the RFP process and all that? with
So-
This building,
So I'll give you this right now. I'll give you the 30,000-foot overview. So this is actually an area, this area down now is one of the areas that we're actually trying on making a historic district in town. The landing building, the building 25 Wharf is actually on the Massachusetts Historic Register. It was the original police station, and it's been the yacht club for almost 100 years.
Yeah.
In the RFP, we've just awarded the building to the yacht club to negotiate with, it just happened last week, with the town administrator for a 5-year lease.
First time, say that again for what?
5 years.
We've just,
5
we
years,
just, we
okay,
just
5-year
awarded
lease.
to them for a 5-year lease.
Yeah.
We've also awarded, so I think I mentioned this the last time, so most people don't realize this. This was Henry's Ice Cream, this was their cold storage plant, and this, when this burned to the ground, it was a multiple alarm fire, longest multiple alarm fire in Massachusetts history, 16 days it burned. Wow. After it burned, Henry sold it and created what is now 88 Watt. To create 88 Watt, this green park used to be the boat storage that went to this building. They made this green space the park and they flipped. 88 Watt owned this whole piece of property known as 41 Watt Street. So on the boat side where you can park, that's where crew is down this corner. It just took us a year and a half to negotiate the sale of this lot back to the town. The town now owns everything down here except where the building is in the immediate surrounding, it's not town. So what we did is we issued an RFP. We took the lot, we subdivided it into 2 5,000 square foot lots. This spot is lot A, it's the third lot in the building. What we've done so far just now is we've awarded the building, and we've awarded lot C to the Quonset Rowan Cup, which is Milton Crew, which is 5,000 square foot. This. Neither one of the bids to the committee's point on both lot A and lot B were high enough in what we were looking for a minimum bid, so we made no award. Part of the thought now though going forward is, this area is really vital. If anyone goes down there on a daily basis, I found this is a gem that most people have no idea. We have just completed all of the depth sounding and permitting to dredge this river from here to the Royce C. Smith Bridge. That, which the town did in 1956 and again in 1989. The caveat in this is, goes to here. The whole issue in the Neponset River right now are the toxins that exist in the Mother Brook between the Adams Street Dam and High Park, which has just been placed in water on this EPA list. So we're ready to go for dredging. And once we dredge here and do all this, as far as use, because it's beautiful to use in your canoe, your kayak, even a boat, half tide and up. But once the tide, I mean, if you go down there in some months, this will change all of that. But this whole aspect of town, this will never be built in, it's in the ACEC, I believe it's called. There's nothing we could have built there other than the existing building like this. This whole area is just, as we go day by day, it's just changing as far as use, as far as affordability, as far as people getting access to it, so. That's
So
where
can
it's at.
can you explain? So now this is the yacht club's
Yeah.
building. What's the public, what's it, you know, that's a private club, right?
It is a private club, they do make they open it for any, it's the only thing that actually uses it now is the Milton Farmers Market's open every Thursday. And they make access to inside the use in their bathrooms, and they have done that for many years as I can remember.
They've also offered, excuse me, they've
Well, you may know,
also
Steve may know,
offered it
right?
to the historical commission for
Yes.
meetings if we wished.
Well, I mean, I'm just, you know, this is public money and a lot of public money. So what's the public benefit to doing this? I understand that, it's, you know, it's good to preserve the building, but.
Public
we-
benefit is the preservation of the building.
Yeah,
That's the
It's
public benefit.
preserving the historic character of the town. I mean, the new fire station is going up out back, but the old desk part of the building is going to remain. And while I don't think anybody's really sure what it's gonna be used for, it remained public property and will be used by the town. The town rents other buildings. They rent this building. But the yacht club has, in the past, offered us, the commission, an opportunity to meet there if we wished.
I also went to a couple of meetings there when I was rowing with, not there's not a high school, but there's a rowing.
The Boston Road Club, NEPRA has meetings there, NEPRA has their meetings there. I've never known them, I know that some of the neighborhood groups, I didn't really think of the meeting, but I mean, I've been at public safety meetings there.
So my question would be, if I were to say, have a group of friends who did kayaking in this area, would I be able to say to the yacht club, could I have us get together on Friday afternoons before we kayak and use that room where we had the rowing group meeting?
I don't want to speak for them, but I'm in a yacht club myself, a much larger yacht club, and usually amongst yacht clubs, and I've never known them to say no. Anything that's a water dependent use, and that would you would say, automatically say yes. Anything like I know UMass has been there, Milton Academy's been there, a lot of water dependent use. Almost everything that's been written in every lease down there is right now today is everything about water dependent use.
But I'm curious about whether we could delve into that further, because I think it would be important to know, besides just a town commission meeting there, if it were a group that was not specifically associated with the town, going to the yacht club and saying, if you're not using it on Friday afternoons, can we get in there the way that the farmer's market uses it on what Thursday?
We can't do
That's-
that,
I'm
right?
sorry,
Yeah, we can't do that. Right, yeah.
Scope as the community preservation
Right.
committee. This money is not going to the yacht club, it's going
To the town,
And
because the
it's
town
for
owns
the
it.
preservation of the exterior of the building. And so, we wouldn't be telling the yacht club who's a tenant, this is not the job of unfortunately the community preservation. It would be different if we were giving a grant to the applicant itself.
Right.
In which case you could put conditions on it. But this is a request before this committee to do historic preservation on a historic building on West End.
Yes.
So I'll give you one final comment from a historic perspective. I can't tell you how many times, and between my father and I, both, we had 74 years of service to the police department. Neither one of us ever worked there. I can't tell you from a historic point of view, how many photos that building has been in that I've seen in my life. It's been in town reports, it's been, I mean, people go down there, they painters sit there and paint it, and Steve's right. It's been our building, and I'll be honest with you, this whole area, being chair of the landing committee is not something I would ever have been in my life. This whole area found is an absolute jewel that we did nothing for. We committed nothing, had the NPIC not taken on that PUD back in 2015. I don't think we'd be here today.
So just picking up on what Kathleen said and what Richard just said, and what Linda was saying, I get that it's beyond our scope as the CPC, but it's not beyond the town's scope.
Correct.
Right? If the town is negotiating a lease with the yacht club, maybe the town could write in some.
So I can tell you, just, I thought in my head, as soon as you said it, I didn't say it here, but my thought was, well, we'll just do that at least.
Since you said you're negotiating at least now.
We put that, we can negotiate that.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know, not specific groups, but we can negotiate publicly, no. That's not how.
Just some public use. I think.
Yeah, we can do that.
part of the reason I ask is that's part of the criteria that we are asked to look at. So having more information about that is helpful.
And this will have to go out for bid as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're not-
And 30B applies to anything you're spending with town money. That's the.
Yeah, right.
It just, yeah.
And is
It's a
there,
curse, it's a curse, it's law.
is there identification of additional funding?
For the building, I don't,
No, I think it's all CPC money.
I would come along that same line. This is presented as a total project cost of 500,000 and you're asking for
But
220.
it's because of the
Well,
second page.
Okay, this is my point. But so that makes you think that we're contributing some and some's coming from somewhere else. So really, at this point, it's a $220,000 project that we're paying 100% of.
yes,
You anticipate coming back for a second phase and another.
I think the town did 20,000 in repairs
Yeah.
to the building last year, the town funded.
Yeah. The other thing relates to that, you're gonna be getting rent for those parcels. Can it be possible that that rent could be targeted to investing in the building?
So we passed, town meeting passed a bylaw in 2019 to create a fund, a revolving fund for the rents, any rents collected now in perpetuity. To go into a fund for the operational lending. So truth be told, this is one aspect, and I can't even tell, and Steve's right. Not only are they, I'm telling you, in my life, we've done nothing, so this wall has to be addressed, this ramp has to be replaced, there's a lot of work.
So it's going into the landing, but not necessarily the building, but that's the rents there are applied there.
Yes, and the other thing too is, I think anything on the inside will work into the responsibility of the lending. I think similar to our other leases, I don't want to comment on other leases that the select board has at the time, is usually when we get to something capital on the interior, we negotiate it between the two, depending on the price.
And that phase two, as you said, is it, you have thoughts about that, or is it assuming that you're gonna come back to the CPC for phase two? Or what
Yeah,
you're thinking
I
about
would
that?
believe we come back to CPC next year for phase two.
We also have under the planning board the overlay district where there is a revolving fund in that particular bylaw, which provides for contributions for historic preservation and other improvements in that district. And that's another source of funding should anything ever happen with that.
And just so everyone knows, our committee is, our timing's like off because it's our inaugural year. We are going to probably to open up eligibility for next year as soon as March. So just so you know that it's, and because it's town meeting, we only have we're probably only gonna have 3 months open for eligibility. And then so I just want to let you know that, so that.
This project, when we started this committee, the landing committee in 2019, this was gonna be 6 meetings. Well, it's 2023 and I don't, the other reason I said I'd run for reelection is only because I think if we walk away from this now, this will we've brought so many players, the city of Boston, the city of Quincy, the EPA, NEPA, so many players have come to the table in this area of the town now that like
Have there been any discussions about raising the building,
raising the what?
raising it up for,
The building?
sea level rise?
I don't think we could touch the building. I don't.
I don't believe
I
that we
don't.
discussed.
Yeah.
It's pretty high up, the
The building is one thing that's been,
isn't
it's
it?
never got to, not that I know, of, I don't think it's ever got.
Well, the whole parking lot floods.
The parking-
The parking lot,
The
definitely,
building
it
is
just
just
flooded
3 feet
recently,
higher.
but it's higher than.
Yeah, you don't see it here, but the building is,
So one of the causes of the parking lot flooding is way down there at the bottom is what is called the public program.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, you can put a canoe or a kayak, but you're not launching a boat there. You can't launch a boat because you need this 100-year-old system that ocean would flip if they saw it anyway, but what we want to do is when we replace this with a modern public grant that should back down, we're going to seal this. Because what the experts who environmental said is once we seal this here, the way the parking lot, it doesn't usually come up over the wall, it just comes right up the ramp. It's like a doorway.
Yeah, it comes over the wall.
Yeah.
So when this flooded this year, how close did it get to the lockup building?
I don't think I've seen it get close to the lockup building. I don't think, I mean, it's gone into all the lots. I don't think I've ever seen it get close to the lockup building.
It's up the,
Yeah,
but
it's
still,
3 feet
eventually it's going up.
It's going there.
you can see by the steps.
Yeah, maybe not now.
Maybe not now.
I mean, the building's at least 3 feet above the parking lot,
That's right.
just looking at the steps.
Yeah, exactly,
So even if the water came up to the bottom of the steps, it's still not.
right.
It's coming.
If you want to understand about flooding in Boston coastal area, you need to get in touch with former Senator Bill Golden, Save the Harbor, Save the Harbor, and look at their experts' proposal on building a seawall that will extend from Winthrop to Cohasset, opening gates, similar to what New Bedford has. That will be needed in the next 50 years, or there'll be no seaport, or there'll be no yacht club, there'll be no North Atlantic.
All right,
So
that's
then-
out of this.
So does any members have any more questions? If not, we can go.
Quick
Wendy.
question. I do. Those steps in the front, is that the only access point into the building? Is there a door in the back that might be?
There is a
There is a door. I've never gone out, but there is a door there.
But it isn't an accessible route, is that what you're getting
Yeah,
at?
The back door went into the drum tank.
Which is still there.
But you
Some-
could still wheel a wheelchair up, because it's still in an accessible building, right?
It's not accessible now, you know.
No, it's it's
It'll be tight. I mean, it's a little small area. And we were told it was separate from the rest of the station so they could let the drunks go the next morning. It was just like that. We'll put them in the back door, put them in the front door, but let them out the back door.
My memory, was it Boston Edison?
I'm sorry?
Was it Boston Edison? Did Boston Edison give it to the town? Who gave it?
No, but,
The other police station was Boston.
the other,
Edison.
place is they bought that town, bought that for Boston,
Boston Edison.
but the town built this.
All right.
Okay.
Anything, all good?
Think we're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beverly Park Playground Study. I did see that.
They're right out.
You want to get that? I know. It wasn't.
Similar.
Hi, how are you? Good.
I am here with Jackie Bolden and Lisa Barone, so we're part of the Heverly Playground Planners. We've seen this before. Scott actually couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately. But I have some handouts of things that we need to. But I just want to kick it off by saying, I think I'm probably repeating myself a lot, but the request is for $40,000 and it is to get the land at Beverly Park shovel ready for another round of funding. We would come back again to get the physical structure, funding for the physical structure of the playground. So when I say shovel ready, it is engaging an architect that we have already spoken to get the quote that's in the application. And it would do all of the appropriate land surveying, what have you, anything that encompasses that, and getting a physical plan of the playground structure. And so to get everything teed up and ready to put a shovel in the ground at next funding cycle. And I'd say I'll end in the application. I just want to point out two of the goals that we have in there. The first one being adding additional playgrounds to the town for equal opportunity across the town. Right now, I think as you can see, I put it on the application, if you were to show all the town operated playgrounds, it's literally probably in a quarter of the town on the east side. So this would be the first town operated playground on the west side being west of the parkway. And then two.
Is that West Milton? No.
And then the second goal is using what we already have. So as you can see here in the picture, potentially very minimal disruption to the existing space. We would probably be looking at targeting, this open area right here, not taking down any trees, and using that space. And as we all know, there's not a lot of space for this type of thing on the west side of Milton or Milton in general. So we think this is a great opportunity to, again, to use what we have in place. One thing since we last met, we met with Conservation Committee and to get their support and listen to their feedback, which is great. And so a few things moving forward that we're going to be doing is looking to add trees to the space around the structure where it fits. Looking at the pond as a whole to see how this playground incorporates with the other projects happening around the pond, which is the ice house project, hopefully engaging the developer there to see if they could help also fund the structure, as well as I know there is talks about ramping up the walking paths around it. So keeping in mind of what's going on there, make sure the look and feel and aesthetic kind of matches what's going on. I know there is a pedestrian footbridge that is potentially going in. Also too, our intentions are, when we talk to the architect, is what's appropriate for the space. This is our opportunity, probably maybe our only opportunity to put a playground in West Milton. So we want to make it, we don't want to make it puny, right? We want to make it a little bit substantial, but we don't want to make it be obnoxious for the neighbors and stuff. So we're really taking that into consideration and being fair to the surrounding people. I think with that said, I'm going to kick it to Lisa to talk about the support piece. I know that was a big thing when we last met, is to get support. You can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think going off of what Jackie said, we tried to be really intentional with our outreach and our support. We heard you the last time we met that getting buy-in from all different types of community stakeholders was going to be really important in order to move the project forward. So we circulated, we approached from a few different angles. We circulated a petition online, so people had the option to sign that, and we're close to 500 signatures there. We also spoke to a lot of the administration at Tucker Elementary School, lots of support there. Hopefully everybody had time to peek at the adorable letters that are included in the application. Definitely my favorite part, but also, a support letter from Kathy Roche, the principal there, after talking to a lot of staff. They currently, that's really the only playground that the kids on the west side of Milton are using right now, and they've had to implement new safety rules, which means that they close that playground down about 15 minutes after school ends, so they can make sure that the kids in the after school program are protected and there aren't people walking in and out of there freely. And they do feel like it's a little bit of a burden on them to have to be the only playground for folks in that area. So this would really alleviate some of that for them. So they are very much in support of it. And then we also had a nice phone conversation with Stephen Wells, who owns homes like that Blue Hills Tower, those businesses on the corner there, right across from Beverly. That would be important as there would be a lot more traffic in that area, a lot more parking. He and his wife were very supportive of it, so they could come and talk if anybody had questions about it. They also included a support letter here. And then just really canvassing the local neighborhoods, having people write individual notes, and making sure that we were reaching out, to the schools, the business owners, as well as individual residents. And we have dozens of support letters and more people online. And I mean, we've really heard just like a great amount of enthusiasm for it. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you.
What about those neighbors with one house directly on the same side as that?
So Ruth,
She's on the opposite. She's like on the opposite.
On Sumner.
right next to it on the right hand side.
Yeah.
So that house, I don't know that we connected with directly because like Jack said, they just sold it. So I think those. I don't know.
I think they just,
Yeah, within like
That's
the last
something used to
month.
live there before, yeah.
Yeah.
but no opposition letters or no one.
It's always online, right, because it's online. So I mean, some people said that they would maybe rather see a big dog park. People had a couple other ideas, but I don't necessarily see that as opposition. I see it as everybody saying it's underutilized land and we all have different ideas about what to do with it. So I think if we wanted to incorporate some of that feedback in, there's likely enough space to do it. But no. Just online.
Yeah, always curious about the opposition. Two questions we talked about last time, I think, one, the impact on parking, and two, the impact of lighting. So can you comment on both of those, what you anticipate the results will be from?
So for lighting, actually, that's a new one, I hadn't thought about, I don't anticipate.
There won't be like.
There won't be lighting,
Yeah.
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 No.
Nah.
That would definitely draw opposition.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something we would put as part of the scope, and then for parking, for now, like, it is a playground, it is actually technically a park today, like, there is no physical parking slots, so if there was something to stay at my.
People can park on.
And people can park there, the curb actually stops at one point, and there's a run of just where there's the grass and then the sidewalk, so it's not like somebody would have to go up on a curb to park, and you probably could get at least 8 cars there. I do see people actually
I think you
park.
get a lot more.
I think you get a lot more
I do
now.
see some people park there now, sometimes like a group, quite a few, and I don't know if they go like maybe walk around the pond together or something, but I have seen quite a few cars parked there.
Yeah, the streets there are very wide.
They are wide.
You could almost park like one on each side and they still have enough room for through
Oh, yeah.
traffic.
So just to be clear, you're not assuming that the parking lot will be part of it?
No.
No.
Kevin,
And this is full support of the park department and the park commission.
okay. I know, and maybe you can touch, this is part, is this
Wow.
yeah, who owns the land? And that was a question I've heard.
Going forward,
But not these neighbors. Deed is just in the town of Milton area.
Okay. I mean, I'm a little bit curious to know, John's plans for this, because I heard, is it the existing bridge or is it a new bridge that's gonna be put on? It's a new bridge. It's, my daughter plays, basketball with Hans, and he was telling me that your application was gonna be a replacement of the existing bridge there, which I didn't think it was.
It's a new bridge on the south side.
Okay, so where would it be, where's that new bridge gonna go on this map?
Right where you are.
A little bit.
Right in
Like
there
below,
somewhere.
somewhere right here? Okay,
No.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
somewhere in there.
Well, into Beverly, won't it?
Will it go into the park?
It is. But if we're looking for the shortest span,
Right,
Yeah,
if we get down to 5 feet, that feels good.
and it has to do where there's a point where along the brook, it becomes private property. So it'll be as far south as you can get on public property.
Correct.
So which is kind of near the corner.
it's actually more, is it
Yeah, a
more
little
here?
probably more up there and just a little bit more than that, yeah, but
Okay,
that'll be surveyed.
okay.
The only question I have, this is a public property, so I imagine the grant would go either to the park department or the conservation commission
No.
to manage
Parks, I think it would
to manage the, the
procurement.
procurement and the project itself with the community support and input.
I believe it's.
So our money would be going to the parks.
The parks are co-applicant, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
So
excellent.
for phase two, the actual construction, are you planning on a private fundraising campaign or,
Yeah, mix of both.
I'm next to both.
I didn't mean exclusively, I
Yeah.
anticipate you're coming back.
Yeah, again, I shortly, I think I'm gonna reach out to, that sounds project developer and see if we can partner with them, as it would be a huge benefit for that property as well. And see where we go from there first, to see how much comes out of that and.
Oh,
if
that's
it-
private fundraising.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
no, I
So-
mean, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from members? If not, thank you very much.
so, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What's next?
Baseball? You promised two to three minutes.
I can do two.
No.
Not me.
You had us in here at day of baseball weather, so this is good. Right? So obviously you have the application in front of you. For those of you, just a reminder, I'm Steve Novak, the president of Milton American Baseball. We are here to discuss the project where we proposed replacing existing fencing and backstop at Mary C. Lane Playground. Replacing it with a new backstop and new fencing and a new dugout area. The primary reason is certainly around the functionality and safety. The functionality of the existing fencing is curling up and can certainly be a hazard, but beyond that, as it relates to the playing of games, we reminded everyone last meeting, there's an adjacent playground, which was recently renovated. And many of our foul balls, et cetera, go into that area. The proposed new backstop and fencing is designed to catch a majority of those and limit the opportunity for those balls to go into that area, as well as creating safety around the benches. As it currently stands right now, we would have a proposed dugout area whereby we'd actually have back fencing, because what happens right now, for those of you who witnessed it, many of our kids, particularly along the third baseline, can just ease themselves right into the playground area as well. So this would put a clear dividing line in that area. As far as the goals as outlined from the CPC, I think it certainly would improve the connectivity, access, safety, and function of these resources, and then also certainly upgrade this existing park, which is the athletic facility and specifically the fencing as it's outlined in the information as well. So I think you have all the additional information in the application, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question. It says you're looking for 31,442. And I had down here, it's like 36. Is it, is the?
That adjustment is based on what Milton American Baseball committed to funding above and beyond this particular project. So some of the additional expenses that would be associated with this would be new benches to both be installed and purchased, as well as outlined in the project, additional wind screening and other things to improve that entire area as well. So we're committed to picking up the cost of that, and then certainly working with Kevin and his group if there needs to be any sort of conversation around funding in terms of grading that area once we've dug out and redone things. We'll certainly be on board in terms of picking up related costs associated with that as well.
Shouldn't the Parks and Rec be a co-applicant on this? I don't.
They
understand
are,
whether
yes,
it's-
they are.
They are,
Yeah, they
okay,
are.
because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my question was, where are the funds going to? Which,
It would be the parks. Yes,
And what is a windscreen? What is that? What, can you describe what that
Yeah,
is?
that's just, it's,
Like mesh thing?
yeah, exactly. It's exactly what that is.
Okay.
And we've utilized those, as Kevin's aware, in recent years as a relatively new thing, which has helped us, including around the safety, which people don't think about, but
there really isn't much around the field at all.
No, not at all. What happens too is a lot of times if you don't have there's a gathering of a lot of particularly kids in places where you actually don't want them for their safety, because what they do is they'll put their hands around, and if the ball hits them, it could easily break a finger, something like that, so the windscreening prevents all of that from happening as well.
See, how many kids are playing?
So in Milton American baseball, with, mind you, is, half of our town. We, on average, we're always over 400 right now, we're going through registration, but we're probably around 450 participants on our side of town. And as Kevin will, also let you know too, obviously other entities have utilized that Mary C. Lane field as well, including Sports for All and others as well, and soccer, et
Is
cetera.
there,
And that's a field that's getting used every night.
Every night, so when we start, and our season officially begins in April, but we'll permit with Parks and Rec to have practices as soon as we can, as the weather permits, and from, let's just say for sake of argument, from April 1 all the way through pretty much September 1, we will have someone on that field pretty much every single evening directly through our organization, not to mention the usage that happens just organically from folks that are there. And then, of course, the adjacent playground has usage on a daily basis as well.
This won't allow you to increase numbers, though, just increase.
No, one increase participation numbers. It's really a safety issue more than anything else.
any other questions from members? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we, Folks Pond? Ground.
Oh, thanks for going that back out, that's great.
Yeah. We're cruising tonight, huh?
Yeah.
We're gonna let you.
Our chair is doing a better job.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said it.
This man here, he gets whatever he wants.
I like that, good.
Well,
I guess we're done then.
No.
You said?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, good evening all. Thanks for providing time so they can make a presentation. On behalf of, I think, the Conservation Commission, but there is some issue about the ownership of the land, and you're probably more up to speed than I am. Pete. The deed clearly says that it's owned by the town for general municipal purposes. There was some issue as to whether or not the town meeting back in 1963 transferred ownership to the Conservation Commission. That I believe it has not been established yet. Therefore, I asked the Board of Selectmen at a public meeting last Monday to address the issue as to whether or not they would designate the Conservation Commission as the appropriate entity to represent them. So we are the designee of the Select Board.
Well, John, that has to be done by town meeting, transferring custody.
No, we're not transferring custody.
You just-
What we're transferring is the right to make the application to
Okay.
the, to this committee.
But I would suggest that it be moved by town meeting at some point. To either parks or conservation instead of general.
Well, we just finished a meeting, a public meeting
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay.
With the Conservation Commission, and we heard from the school building committee with a proposal to do a land swap. And that would include the Folks Pond area being transferred to the Conservation Commission.
To meet the new requirement of the
Right.
statute for Article 97.
Yes, correct. Well, there's separate acreage going for Article 97 purposes. The ratio there is about 6.4 acres of parkland and conservation land, in exchange for approximately 15 acres of Article 97 land.
Mhm.
Different
Yeah.
swap, the conservation land on Guile Road now is down to 2.8 acres.
Mhm.
And the town proposes swapping 55 acres for that 2.8 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into
Yeah,
the
we shouldn't
weeds.
get into
I don't
that
want to get
because
in the
it's
weeds on all the
It's
town
much
swaps.
more difficult.
Right, so let's, it's town land, and
It's
for
town land.
CPA purposes, I go ahead and talk about your
All right.
project.
All right, so the town, and it's not just the town, it's in conjunction with the Conservation Commission, the DPW. and the Northeastern University of the American Society of Civil Engineers. Because they are going to be a major part of this program. In addition to some individuals that I'll name in a moment. But the plan is to put a pedestrian bridge at the south, what I call the south end, closest to Canton Avenue, in this vicinity here. And I'm being a little bit vague as to where it goes, because we're looking for the shortest span. And that has a significant difference in cost, because it could be as short as a 25-foot span. It's about 8 feet wide, but it could be as short as 25 feet. It could be as long as 60 feet. So we actually planned for and solicited an informal bid for a 60-foot bridge, which I'll get to in a minute, because what we've done is we've broken down the proposal into 3 phases. So the first phase is to do a study, and the study is simply to get a surveyor out on the team. And that's going to be very important, not just to us, but also to the federal department. Because if I can, the survey is going to be very important, because we'll delineate the bank, the top of the bank, which is pretty easy. The wetland area, which is different than top of bank, will be designated by Steve Ivas. That's free. Steve Ivas is the Conservation Commission agent, and he's a wetland scientist, and that's what he does for a living. The only money that we have to add to Steve's work is we need a GIS recorder, I guess it is, so that we can actually cite onto the plan where the wetland flags go to. Now, that's going to be important for an odd reason. Under the state regulations, Pine Tree Brook is a perennial stream. There's a 200-foot jurisdictional line for that. So the jurisdiction from Pine Tree Brook goes this way 200 feet, and that way 200 feet as well. The reason that's important is that the first 100 feet is called the inner riparian zone, and the state says you can't build on that. That may be important to the playground in terms of locating the playground, because if you measure 100 feet from here, you can forget about the second 100 feet. That's jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission, but it won't be a problem. But you're going to have to move the location of the playground here. But our survey for the bridge will accomplish the 2 goals, so it'll help them in their survey. That survey, we think, would cost approximately $15,000, and that is based upon 2 sources of information. One is Chase Berkeley. By the way, Chase Berkeley went to Northeastern Engineering School, was part of the NU ASCE, and he actually worked on the first bridge. On the other side, the bridge is right here, and that's the first one. There was, so we're not trying to replace that. That's in great shape, actually.
It's, if you walk it, like a lot of the wood on the top is all rotten out.
Oh, is
I
it
mean, I
rotten?
walk it all the
I haven't
time.
been there.
Yeah, so it is. So that's why I was wondering. I'm sure the bridge, like the structure of it might be, I'm sure the structure's okay, but there is boards on the top that are really rotten out. So I think it's, yeah, it's maintenance, but that's just something that, you know.
All right, so
Do you know how long that span is? You know, compared to. Okay.
I bet you it's 30 feet, 40, something like that.
Mhm.
it actually burned. It was created in 2002, 2003, and it was burned and it was reconstructed.
Really?
Right.
Someone said, well, how did it go?
I don't know. But our fabrication hopefully is going to be a light composite metal. Won't burn.
It won't look like this one.
No, it won't, but I submitted pictures of the
Right, I saw.
surplus, and one of those is in Walpole, and one of the bridges is in Warren, Rhode Island. And the Walpole Bridge was fabricated by Raven Marine out of Kissimmee, Florida. That's the bid that we got for approximately $66,000.
You're planning on building that and then just put stone, you know.
That's right. The fabrication is off-site, it's transported. We do need heavy equipment to lower it down onto what we anticipate will be a series of helical piles. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself, because the first phase, we're only looking for the 16,000. And I said the 15,000 estimate for the survey is based upon Chase Berkeley and on the school building committee, just did a survey on Kyle Road with BSC. And we kind of looked at those figures, and I think the 15,000 pretty accurate for what the survey will cost them. It has a double value though, because it'll help the playground folks. And
The funding for this project though is all three phases, right?
Is
It
it all-
encompasses all.
The whole thing.
yes, correct, because the second phase is actually, it's got two components to it. One is to retain a lead engineer. Because the lead engineer is going to coordinate the whole project. And the ballpark for that, Chase Berkeley again, and some of the folks at Northeastern indicated it'll be about $50,000 to do the planning. And it's not just metal fabrication, it also involves environmental planning and placement of helical piles, et cetera. We're hoping to save all of that, all 50,000, because the Northeastern University group that actually did the first bridge on the north side will do it for nothing, essentially. So that 50,000 should be down to zero. That's what we're hoping for. So the 100,000, the three phases would be 25 in phase one. I'm only asking for 16 now. 100 for the design and fabrication offsite, and the third phase would be the second 100,000. And that would be to actually transport here, drop by heavy equipment. This is a heavy bridge. It is probably going to be aluminum, which is lightweight for metal, but it's the strongest, lightest metal, and that's the recommendation today. But you still need heavy equipment to drop it into place, and the third phase would also include placing the helical piles. So we're looking for cost savings. The first in phase two would be to eliminate the need for a lead engineer and give that to Northeastern University Engineering Department.
You already have some money, right?
We
Secured.
have some money secured. The town meeting in June of 2020 approved a line item and has allocated $100,000 for this bridge. So that's already in the town coffers. That's why we counted on that 100,000 and only asked for the next 125.
Is that 100,000 bookmarked for the actual bridge? Or
Yes, it is.
Is that one?
And that, if you look in the eligibility packet, I actually gave you a copy of the town meeting, the article from June of 2020. So the line item is Oaks Pond pedestrian bridge. So I think we're good on the money.
When do you think this project obviously would be July that you could start your study and all that. When do you think this?
We could start the study as soon as you give us the money. We can start tomorrow.
You could probably start survey stuff.
Yes.
With the 100,000 you've got, right?
That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Chase Berkeley would probably know that. If the line item in the article would cover that.
If the project's one budget and, can be taken, but that's for you guys to figure out.
Correct. So that if we go to phase two and we get Northeastern University involved, and Matthew Macy's, the president of the organization, has committed to us, not formally, but he told a couple of people, Chase Berkeley, number one, Joe Sloan, number two. Joe Sloan's a key player in this. He knows the folks at Northeastern, and he knows somebody else too, which is in phase three. I'll get to that. But right now, we're trying to get Northeastern on board so that our lead engineer goes to zero. And we're also trying to shrink the $100,000 for the prefabricated bridge. The reason we can get it down, I think, is that the prefabricated bridge is pre-designed. It's already been designed. It's just sitting there, and we just say, yeah, give me, model A. And so we went out and got a bid, or actually Jason and Joe Sloan went out and got a bid from Raven Marine, and that came in at $66,126, and that is for a 60-foot bridge. And we got to get it. Yeah, they'll make it, but that saves on that 100,000. If we get Northeastern, that saves on the 50. If we get the bid down from 100 down to 66, we're saving money. Phase three then is to get a contractor to go in and actually implement and install these helical piles. They're like big sonotubes, but they only take about 20 cubic feet in total of fill. So that limits greatly the disturbance of soil in the protected area in the resource.
What's the cost of that? Do you have that?
Well, that's what Joe Sloan, as I told you, he's an important guy to this.
Yeah.
Because he's got a relationship, and I don't mean to speak.
Was that in your budget, the piles?
Yes,
in here?
that's phase 3.
Okay,
That should provide for transportation, heavy equipment and helical piles.
okay,
So that should be all inclusive. We're trying to save on that because Joe does have a relationship, and I put it in the, and maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I certainly can't speak for helical piles of Braintree. But yeah, Joe does have a relationship with them, and they've been very, very cooperative and very generous with other municipalities. And we're hoping we can exploit, if that's the word, take advantage of that good relationship, at least to reduce the cost.
They don't have to bid.
Yeah, they have to go to.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have to go to public bid.
So they will, if they
Right.
submit a competitive bid or.
Yes,
Yeah. That'd be the way they would do that.
that's correct. But yeah, and I just want, I want to make sure I mention the folks here, because Chase Berkeley's been superb. Matthew Macy's from Northeastern University, from the Civil Engineering Society. Joe Sloan is just superb. And he's a key guy, both for helical piles and for. When I say Northeastern, there's a professor there by the name of Dan Dulaski, Dulaski. And he was actually instrumental on the other bridge on the north side. And he's, we were trying to work with him. And in the eligibility application that I submitted, I did a draft notice of intent, and attached to that draft notice of intent with some concept drawings. They're not construction drawings that we'll need, but they are concept drawings. That's like the first step to getting to the fabrication or the prefabrication. But that was done through Dan Dulaski. And hopefully he's still around as part of the Northeastern University crew. So that would be the third phase. And we don't think it would take long. Construction wise, there'll have to be a permit before the Conservation Commission, but I suspect it'll go well there. And I think it's in accord with your goals, our joint goals, I guess, to advance the public access to a beautiful resource. That's been an important resource there. And it'll allow circumnavigation of the pond. And it will be coordinated with one other project that we know, the playground, which we supported, the Conservation Commission supported. And we contemplate that in the next go round, we'll be looking for money to assist in completing the trail. Because this section here is not actually marked out here in the trail. The trail in this section is pretty well designed.
yeah,
But we have to connect it here, so there's the bridges, and I'm just estimating where it's gonna be, somewhere around here. And so we'll be able to come back and ask for assistance to complete the trail. And I know you had the Turners Pond Trail you did the first one with Charlie Gamer. It's held up well, but I know it needs more. But that would be the same kind of.
So my question is, will the money go to you, to the Conservation Commission? Or is the DPW gonna manage this construction? You know, somebody's gotta put it out to bid and, oversee the construction. Will that be DPW?
When I first filed the application, I was convinced that the Conservation Commission owned the land around Pope's Pond, so I would have answered, yes, it's Conservation Commission. Now I don't know. It might go back to the select board as deeded owner, and they could then designate the DPW, I guess, to.
so you were meeting with the select board, is that tomorrow, or did you already have that meeting?
No, already, I wasn't there.
Oh, you.
I had asked the select board to approve the Conservation Commission as the appropriate designee to advance this application.
Okay.
And they passed that unanimously Monday night, just prior to town meeting.
Okay. Got it.
There's a couple of questions. I'm wondering who constructed I guess probably the most recent bridge, which is on the Ponza bikeway.
Yes.
So it's
Just Lion Playground.
That was DCR project.
DCR.
Yeah.
PCR. So I don't know if that is helpful at all in terms of.
It would be a tremendous source, and I know that Chase Berkeley's got great relations with Boston. So I would assume that would be easy access.
Yeah. Okay, the other question I had is, you don't know where the bridge is gonna be, but it seems to me that it's gonna have a big impact if you can see it from Canton Avenue. And I'm wondering whether that is a consideration. because
I don't think you're gonna be able to.
Yeah.
see it.
You're not gonna see it.
You'll never see it.
It's just the wood, the way the woods.
The way the woods are, it's kind of, yeah.
There's no way
It's
it's publicly visible from Canton. Maybe from
From the park,
from
maybe.
some part.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, but.
Maybe.
yeah.
Just in terms of, it may be just something that you haven't really thought about. It's like, okay, if people see it, they're gonna come. And that may affect just sort of the impact of the use or the parking or, you know, like.
Well, I think the discussion we had the first time, I think the importance of coordinating the two projects and
Yes.
it's apparent that you guys are talking to each other and
Yes.
it's gonna be in sync with and even helping each other out a little bit, which is great, because I think, you know, where the playground goes, what the visibility from the playground
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
elsewhere in the park to the bridge, or the beginning of the path, all that type of stuff, you know, are details, but in terms of.
I mean, I run this path almost, you know, a lot, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like that, the bridge kind of connects back up to the road there, that turnaround. But then this always comes down, but literally now, if you were to come down here, you legally can't go.
Yeah, I know, right.
So.
Yeah, I know. And then just another question in terms of having the bridge built off-site, is that for economic reasons or efficiency or what?
Yes, both. Yes, to both. Economic reasons, I believe that to be the cheapest, but and that's what Walpole did, because we looked at Walpole, we looked at Warren, Rhode Island. And they both did offsite prefabrication. And it also makes the installing it, just kind of dropping it in place is much easier and there's less disturbance to the environment. The heavy equipment has to go in, we'll have to be very careful about that. That'll be part of the permitting. When it goes before the Conservation Commission, we'll make sure that there are appropriate pads down so that it doesn't impact on the banks of Pine Tree Brook.
And how deep do those tubes go?
That depends on the soil.
Yeah.
There's a machine that's got a torque to it that turns until it meets a certain resistance. And that depends, and they don't even know, so they'll just get in there and keep going until it meets that resistance, and that's where they stop.
Because there's water, I mean, you talking about.
Oh, I mean, they could go down 20 feet.
So Rob, currently, there's no way, I'm not really familiar with folks.
Yeah.
There's no way to do,
You can't.
You can't circumvent the whole thing, so literally,
so this,
this one, these houses here, they own the land. So if there's one house that has that, goes all the way to the, basically.
so now you would be able to, so tell me about the shape of the, you know, we're just talking about tires and fixing the path, what's the path around? Is it in good shape?
You know what, like, I feel like the neighborhood's kind of
Yeah, it's
taken
never
on.
been developed as a, around one side, there's a pretty good path. On
It's
the other
pretty
side,
narrow,
you're going over tree roots and it's narrow. It's never been built as a path.
especially on this, where John was talking about, on this side, there's some definite, like, changes in grade and stuff,
It'd be nice-
boards down and
It's
stuff.
nice to do that.
I will tell, I will, well, coming over here, this path's definitely been improved quite a bit, where they threw down, I think it was like wood chips and stuff. I think that really helped because it was really wet there at one point, and it's nice, because you can, that connects all the way over to the, the brook, and you can go all the way.
And I know there was a question about the ice house, and yeah, I think the Beverly Park folks were hoping to get some contribution to assist. But as part of the Conservation Commission's approval of the ice house, the developer will have to create a pathway, essentially to allow pedestrian traffic from the parkway all the way to this bridge.
No.
So that's part of their.
And they also have to develop some designated parking spaces on their property.
Yes.
That are
Yeah,
for park
exactly.
users, so people can park there and take this path. So there will be that connection that they built.
But with this bridge,
That's what I mean.
Just one other question, maybe I missed it, but was there a note from the Friends of Pope's Pond of,
I talked to Joe, Pete, you may know this better, I talked to Joe, and since Will Brokoff, who was the original proponent of the pedestrian bridge, and he actually put the first plan together. That's part of the eligibility application back on September 29th. That was the work by Will Brokoff, and then I think his job changed and he moved to Vermont. Joe was working with him at the time, and stepped in as sort of a leader of the group. I asked him about Pope's Pond, and I don't, since Will's departure, I don't think it's.
I don't think there's a friends group of.
I don't even know if it's even.
There's, the neighborhood has a friends group, and there's a Friends of Pine Tree Brook group, but I don't think there's a Friends of Pope's Pond.
I saw it mentioned, but I didn't see any kind of.
It used to exist because they've come before us to support a bike path. But I think it kind of fell apart.
That's sort of defunct, yeah, okay.
All right, so as a Northeastern alum, I appreciate the work at Northeastern. If they can show
save
us,
us a ton of money.
that would be nice. My company supports many co-ops there, so.
John, are they gonna stamp the engineering drawings? Or
Yeah. Well, that's our plan.
You're hoping they will?
Yes.
Okay.
And Matthew, at least in talking to Joe Sloan and in talking to Chase Berkeley, said he's enthusiastic in support of this, and I say committed to it. He just said, I can't do it now. You have to wait until September of this year.
Yeah.
So I think we can wait until September if it's free. That's great news.
Is there any questions from the members? Are we other than what?
Then you have.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Affordable Housing Trust.
Last but not least. Can I connect to this or?
You can go, so. Do
You want me to go online?
Can you log online and then you can just.
And I also have it here if you want to stick it.
I can do that. Well, yeah, I think I have it. Let's see.
I can label presentations of PowerPoint. So while he's loading that, think
Is it, which one is
it's
it?
big presentation.
This one?
No,
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
the
hold on.
presentation. Great. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Julie Kramer. I live on Frothingham Street, 50 Frothingham Street. I am currently the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust here in Milton. And I'm here with a quick overview of our application into the Community Preservation Committee. So do you want me to press it or the next one? Great. So for folks who don't know what the Milton Affordable Housing Trust does broadly, we aim to address affordable housing needs in our town, support local control of housing initiatives, engage in real estate activities, make timely decisions, and collect money from various, from a variety of sources. One of our charges is to become an effective broker for housing resources, including donated land and money that may be dedicated to affordable housing initiatives and managed by the trust. If you want to go to the next one. For those of you who don't know where the Milton Town Farm is, the blue circle is where we are right now. The red circle is the Milton Town Farm. So it's right down Canton Avenue, up Governor Stover Lane. This is a closer image of the site itself. So the site was left to the town of Milton. It was 34 acres. And the trustees, the Governor Stoughton trustees, which are the select board members, manage the property for the town. There was a decision back in 2011, I think, 2011, to sell a large portion of the site to a single family developer. The town received multiple proposals for the site, including one that would have made it 100% affordable housing and would have contributed incredibly to our SHI, our subsidized housing inventory. But the select board made a decision to sell the land to the highest bidder, and they, Pulte Homes, and they built 23 home sites, which are the little, you know, the segregated areas here that you see. And they built 23 single-family homes. So the balance of the site, which was 4 acres and now is about 3.5 acres, the town also sold to Pulte an easement over this end of the site for runoff that was needed in the development of the 23 single-family homes. So what's left is about 3.4 acres. And our hope is to get affordable housing reestablished up there. So the land and the housing on the land once did serve the poor of Milton. So there was housing up there that was rented to residents who lived there. The barn and the housing up there now is completely in complete disrepair, literally to the point where it's unable to be restored effectively, financially. So the goal would be to put out an RFP. The select board has voted on re-engaging Massachusetts Housing Partnership, MHP, to create an RFP for the redevelopment of the site.
That vote came last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Monday
Within
of
the
last week, yeah.
Yeah. week or two.
So, the rest of my slides are just images of developments that, so I'm an affordable housing developer located here in Boston. And I have used Affordable Housing Trust and CPC funds on numerous projects. I'm just showing a few here just for reference. This was a project built in Dennis that was on a farm, believe it or not. It was actually a farm that was used at one time for the Rex trailer show. I don't know if anyone here is old enough to remember that.
Everybody's old.
Yeah. I don't remember it, but my older brother does. No, I do remember it, Boomtown.
I
So
worked on that, but I didn't, that property stayed for.
stayed, yes, thank you. And so help us save this one.
With my name on it.
Well, that's awesome. So we created 27 units of housing on this site, and the structure you see right in front of you in the center is a community building that has management offices, laundry, community space. And it's a beautiful property. If you ever drive down 138 in Dennis, you'll see it. It's much loved. If you want to go to the next slide. This is one that we just completed. Literally, it just opened its doors. That's why the grass isn't green. Like not even 3 weeks ago. And this was in Brewster, Mass. This was 39 units of housing in 2 separate buildings. One's an elevator building and one is a single-story building. This is the first passive house project officially dedicated down on the Cape. So this is a great project as well. This one was funded with Affordable Housing Trust funds from start to finish. They allowed.
This is passive and affordable.
Yeah.
Wow.
They allowed us to use some of the Affordable Housing Trust funds for pre-development work. So the company I worked for used those funds to start. It was really more for the passive house work to get that off the ground. And so this is a beautiful property. If you want to go to the next one, This is one that is, it's actually not the firm I work for. It's under construction in Hudson, Mass. Another project that was really, we didn't win it. The company I work for didn't win it, but it was really great to be a part of the process. Because they really engaged the community. They used affordable housing trust funds extensively throughout this project, and shame on us, we didn't win it, but it's a beautiful design overall. The building to the bottom is a 3-story elevated building, and then there are townhomes in the front. This is I show this because it's about the same size as the project, the site at the farm, and it's really just an incredible.
How many units
So
are
this
you
was
targeting?
30, this is 36 units.
No, are you targeting for Milton?
We
We don't know.
I would love to target, 40. And the reason for that number is that, at least in my experience with the company I work for, it's a really important number so that you can have really dedicated management staff on site, right? So that you can have a maintenance guy, and you can support a property manager. When housing communities get a little bit smaller, because they're affordable, you just don't have the rental revenue to really support it at that broad level. This is 36 units. The company I work for owns a property right down the street, so we were gonna be able to manage it at 36 units because we were so close. But this is a great example of how the Affordable Housing Trust really got involved. And then the next one, the last one, is actually a project I worked on that was a poor farm located in West Barnstable. So this, the town of the West Barnstable decided that they were going to reestablish their poor farm with affordable housing. So this was this was what was built there. The barn that existed there that also had to be brought down because it was in such disrepair. We mimicked that style of architecture on the site. This was built in 2009, I think, 2009. And again, it's just a remarkable property that was, this one actually wasn't supported with CPA funds. We were able to build it without making that request. But it was, at the time, the town didn't have the funds to dedicate to this project. And then I think the last one, I included this in my package to you folks, and I think you understand what the leverage piece is all about. But all of the projects I just showed you were built with low-income housing tax credits, which is a resource at the state level that's awarded to projects for the production of affordable housing. So that's what that low-income housing tax credit, that $13 million number represents. And in order to secure, a project with these state funds, they really like to see a local match. So that doesn't have to be dollar for dollar, but they want to see a sizable amount of CPA funds or any local funds to support that. And it's an extreme amount of leverage here, 32 to 1. And this, this is very, very typical of the affordable housing work that gets done in Massachusetts.
Does that match ratio vary project to project?
It does, in fact, I took this one from a property we did in 20, God, I think it was 19. It's gotten much bigger because the cost of building is gone up extremely, right? So there are projects that require 2 requests into a CPA. I'm sorry, the CPC, because they got their first award, and as they started to develop or do pre-construction, the cost just drove up. You know, what I think is important for folks to know is that we, you know, the company I work for, and there are many incredible nonprofit, for-profit, affordable housing developers in Massachusetts. I mean, we've got the like, you know, my competitors, which, you know, are incredible groups. And when, you know, you dedicate the Affordable Housing Trust Funds or the CPC funds, you know, you want something back, right? You want them to either, you know, meet architectural, you know, guidelines, or do a passive house, or, you know, create something special so that it, you know, the town can get excited and, you know, broader support for the work. So, you know, in short, if you wanted something, you know, that was an expensive feature, you know, those that would be funded locally. You know, you would look for local funds to do that. So that leverage can go up much higher.
Can you,
That's it, questions?
Can you explain a little bit about your schedule of the project? Like, if you're gonna put out an RFP, and that just got approved, what, recently, right?
I think
Yeah,
last
I can't remember, within the last 10 days.
Yeah.
The select board voted to, with the Affordable Housing Trust, to send a letter to the MHP. MHP requires the select board to weigh in before they, because they're basically providing requests for proposal services for free, or nominal costs anyways to the town, so they want to make sure the town is committed, and the chief elected officials are committed to moving, you know, it doesn't commit the town to anything, it just commits what we get from them is a professionally produced
It's
draft.
for a planning study.
Draft,
to do it.
no, draft RFP, and then that RFP will presumably go into a public process. You know, like we'll get public input, public comment, talk to people throughout town, obviously the neighbors, but also, you know, people throughout town who would like to see, hopefully us, you know, honor the history of town farm, as Julie said, it was residential affordable housing, quotes are on that,
Right.
from 1805 to 1940. And then it was just market rate housing from 1940 up until 2011 almost.
Yeah.
I guess my question is like, how soon can we get shovels into the ground?
Oh,
Like,
I would, believe me, I've been working on this for 10 years. You know, the process, and this is sort of where the Affordable Housing Trust comes in, really needs to be moved, right? It's very easy to say, oh, well, you know, baby steps, right? We need affordable housing in this town. We can no longer do baby steps. So, you know, I have responded to numerous RFPs drafted by MHP, and I will tell you, the best RFPs are ones where, as you read it, and as you're getting ready to respond to it, you recognize support for an affordable housing project from the town, right? You can't read between the lines and, oh, maybe you want this many units, or maybe you don't, you know, the affordability doesn't matter. Like, it has to be directed. And when that happens, which, you know, is one of the ones that I showed you, the Hudson, in Hudson, Mass, you know, you get the right set of responders, you get the right set of proposals to be looked at, and the process can move quickly. You know, you still have to make the selection, you still have to do your due diligence as a town, as a review board, you know, all of that is critically important. You still have to get, you know, local support, build local support for it. And so it can move as quickly as people are determined to make it move. What doesn't move as quickly is marshaling the funding to actually put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
But what's critically important when this RFP gets submitted for folks to respond to is for them to know that the Affordable Housing Trust is well funded, because they're going to come to us. They have to come to the town to get local.
Is this basically a 40R? That's.
It's gonna be a friendly
A
40B.
friendly
It could be a friendly
40B.
Could be a friendly
Yeah.
40B. Julie, just on the state funding rounds for rental subsidy are in the fall or? in the-
So they happen always once a year. It's actually February, so we
In the-
just submitted one in February. There is a pre-app that you have to show that you're ready to go into the real app, in like November.
So just to, Rob, your question, I think the best case scenario and the most hopeful case would be, our MHP turns around an RFP for us, a draft RFP within the next month or so. Then we take some process over the spring, summer and fall, locally to finalize that RFP and then put it out an RFP so that developers could be in a position to apply for that February round.
Right,
basically.
correct.
It's
Absolutely.
the rough,
Yeah.
really rough time.
Sorry, I think I got it. I think that last part helped me. So you have the land, where the land is, you're looking to, I get the funding pieces. I think I understand the RP process, but the part I'm missing is, so who approves it? Because if you're gonna go for an RP and somebody's gonna put it out there, you're asking for somebody to get it done. But I feel like I'm missing a step of who's saying, yes, we're gonna do this on this land.
I'm going through this process in another town, I full disclosure, I represent about 10 affordable housing trusts as one. So you don't own the land yet, or
You who?
the affordable housing trust,
The affordable.
so it's owned by the town.
Okay.
It's owned owned by the governor's
It's governed, there's the insurance.
So one of the first issues we have is how does the Affordable Housing Trust participate in a project on property they don't own? And so the governor, Stoughton trustees, I assume, are the ones issuing the RFP. And that the Affordable Housing Trust would be the entity providing support for the ultimate developer. But the decision about who gets picked for that project would be done by the trustee.
Yeah, so that part I understand.
And that's all in our letter.
So,
Can I just go further on my question?
yeah, so
Sorry.
what happens after that
Yeah.
is that the RFP requires there to be a purchase and sale agreement between the trustees of the Governor's Stoughton Trust and the developer. There will be conditions in that purchase and sale agreement that say the developer is not gonna buy it until they get the permits that they're.
So I understand.
So they're gonna have to go to the ZBA, if it's affordable housing, or either for some kind of comprehensive permit, and it would be a friendly or non-friendly.
And
So I
can I
understand
just say one thing?
Sure.
The developer doesn't have to buy the land.
Okay.
We do.
I'll be honest with
Plenty
you,
of
we're
things.
talking, I mean, not to be,
Yep.
we've been talking for a long time. I don't even understand what this project is. And I don't know if you all do, but like, I seriously don't understand. I get the portion of you've got a piece of land, you're jumping, it seems to me, just help me out here. You're jumping to RFP and let's build. I don't understand the process of, if it's owned by the town, then there's obviously a public process. There's maybe, is there a town meeting that has to approve it? Like, what is the approval process?
The governor, the select board is the.
So nobody in town approves it but Governor Stoughton trustees.
Right, nobody approved the.
No
sale
one
of
approved
all
the
that land.
RFP process, they had to get and they.
So you don't get any approval of Governor Stoughton, you're just gonna go do it.
That, no,
No, they got the approval.
You need the 5.
Nobody else's approval, I'm sorry. I'm saying-
Oh, right, yeah.
right.
Okay, so it is a shovel ready project, you're ready to do.
No, because it's a whole, it's a 40B, as everyone's saying, it's a friendly or non-friendly 40B.
Friendly
So-
to who then? You're not really capturing what.
So.
entity
The company I work for,
Yeah.
we've done multiple, and I know people are like, what does friendly 40B mean?
I understand all that is what the planning board, I get that.
Yeah.
So
You're missing with that.
we've done most of those projects up there were friendly 40B. Most of them, we got a 40B in 3 months. Because we knew what the town wanted, we responded to an RFP.
So now you're getting to my point, where I guess what I'm asking. So there is an entity that it's gotta have the friendly too, or else you just do the project. So who is it, down? that needs to do the governor's stuff?
It's the governor's trustees, and they.
Yeah. We've been working very closely with the governor's set of trustees, which are the 5 members of the select board. Right,
Okay, so there you go, so that.
But they're wearing
you
two
didn't
different
capture that,
hats.
so-
five is a will.
Okay.
The governor's set of trustees are
Yeah,
the
they-
elected, the current elected members of the select board in this town.
Okay,
So, and it changes with elections.
it'll change it, right?
Exactly. So we thought it was a significant step when the select board acting in that case
As the governor's.
In that case, they acted as the select board.
I appreciate it, this helped me out of time, because you're missing, what we weren't talking about was that approval process, because it almost made it sound like it was a shovel-ready project. Now,
No.
you're looking for, so here's the problem. These projects, my understanding is what we're looking for is shovel-ready projects, ready to go, and you've got a lot of steps between.
Not necessarily.
There's no
Shall we ready?
project that is ever gonna be.
Let's be.
Hold on a second, let me finish.
Yeah.
So, but we do this every year, and so what you're asking for is expending $533,000 that could actually take you a year to get approvals, and then start looking at a project. So the reality, I mean, it could take.
I'll be honest, it could take 3 years, right?
So why, my question is, why lock up $533,000 today?
I think we should have the conversation next week when we
Okay.
talk about it, but what I would say. What I would say,
Well,
Julie, is that I think if you went back to your slide, if you went back to your slide, that it shows the leverage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's basically saying that the Affordable Housing Trust has this leverage,
Okay.
and they have this money. So I would say that's the big
And thank you
thing.
for, I mean, it's,
And I would,
if I was
Yeah, I mean,
confused by it, I'm
no,
quite
the only
positive other people are as well.
right, the only thing I'd like
Yeah.
to add, and this is important, and it's just the way this works, right? When you're building affordable housing, you need to look under every possible rock
Mhm.
for every possible dollar, so you can build something that the town can, be proud of, right? At least that's how most of the affordable housing developers are. So you need to know the money's there, right?
Mhm.
So when someone's responding to this RFP, and I can tell you, because this is the work I do, if you are responding to an RFP and then you go on the website to see how much money the Affordable Housing Trust has, and they don't have enough money to fund your project and many others in the town, you're not going to respond to that RFP. You're gonna say, I don't have leverage to get the money I need from the state. So you have to give 10% of CPC money
Right.
to affordable housing. That would not be enough to get the leverage you need to build housing up here. It just wouldn't.
I guess one other question, you came to us originally as with an eligibility with a plan of like 12 things, right? And now we're asking to fund just the poor farm piece. So and my question back to you is, whatever the funding is, it's 533,000. In the grant agreement or whatever, is that specifically earmarked for this project, or is it just generally giving over to the Affordable Housing Trust to whatever to list out your 12 goals or whatever, I guess is the question.
It could go.
It could go anywhere.
Whatever you want, right? Whatever CPC decides. Typically, the Affordable Housing Trust is a vehicle for CPC funds, right? So the funds could come into the Affordable Housing Trust, and we can decide where those funds are used. This is the only real affordable housing project that is on our books right now, because we finally were able to get the select board to decide to move the RFP ahead. That's a huge step. It's an important step. And we have other funds that the Affordable Housing Trust has collected. We collected some funds from the sale of 2 homeownership units that came into the Affordable Housing Trust. And so we do have some funds, the town, 50,000 here, 10,000 there, has funded the trust as well. So we, we do have some other funds besides these funds.
So is it the fact that, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, is it the fact that they haven't, the governor's been, isn't really voting on, like, do it because they need to, they want to see a project?
They want to see the RP and then they want, and I think they want to pick off the local public process with the RFP at hand to say, okay, here's some parameters for what we could do on town farm. What is, get some public comment, let's get, and build support in town. And I think with the way the select board, I think, term, the words they used was, it was moving, gathering information from MHP and moving the ball forward so that the project could go to the next step. And otherwise, it, as Julie said, it gets stuck. I would think as the Affordable Housing Trust, we would report back. I mean, if perchance we didn't spend every penny on the, it didn't have to spend, we got what we wanted without spending any penny on town farm, we report back about other projects that it could be used for,
Right.
Negotiations with 40B developer. I mean, that whole laundry list.
The whole list.
So, there's plenty.
But yeah, I guess it would be like in the conditions to leave it, I mean, whatever you define that is.
Drafting a grant agreement, which I always recommend, with Affordable Housing Trust. So lots of the Affordable Housing Trust that I represent get a flood of money from the CPC without any strings attached.
Right.
It's to the trust because you can't spend it on anything else. It
Right.
has to be done for affordable housing. So to provide the flexibility that you don't have if you have it with the town, it goes to the trust, and that's the whole idea behind setting them up. So that'd be one way to do it, because they're a long way from getting it shown.
Yeah, yes.
And not most of the time, when we do some of these things that are tied to a project, we'll say, like, we had $1 million that, the Affordable Housing Trust, did in Lincoln, for a unit for a specific project. And so the vote of the town was just the $1 million. The trust then said, we're gonna have a great agreement with the developer and a mortgage, that's under 87. But it's 3 years, so if nothing happens in a
It comes
3-year
back.
period of time, it comes back. Now, the question would be whether we would wanna have for this committee, the same kind of reach back. So would we wanna have a grant agreement with the trust that says, okay, here's the 500 something for this project. And if it doesn't get built in 3 years, the money comes back to the CPC. I don't really recommend that because we can't do affordable housing any other way. And so it seems to me that it would make more sense to have a grant agreement with the trust that says, here's the slug of money, and you can use it for this, and
Well,
and not tied to so specifically to Governor Stone, in case that never happens.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
just gonna say. Like, let's say there's a plot. I don't know, another opportunity opens up in town and you can do it.
Well, you're
Like,
trying.
now you're not tied to like one thing.
Right,
I
no,
think we narrowed the application and
Can't get it.
to respond to some of the comments from this body and others, just like, give us an idea.
Make it real.
Make it real.
Yeah. Right.
And this is the most real, this is our
Most
best,
real example.
best guess, best estimate of what we can do sooner rather than later, but as people have said,
It takes.
either another opportunity could jump to the fore, or this could, take
This
longer
could take off.
than we think or whatever, but I do think we wanted to put some meat on the bone in terms of this would basically what it would look like to fund a good affordable housing project. This one happens to be at Town Farm. It could also be, Governor Healy is talking about state surplus land. And, we have probably some parcels in town that are state, that will be declared state surplus at some point during the Healy administration. So there could be opportunities other than.
Well, I'm glad to hear your response that I was really shocked when the funding application came in, identifying the project as the town farm, because that's very different than the eligibility application. I would support, and we need affordable housing very badly, and so giving the money to the trust to use in the way that the trusts use money, like Kathleen says, I think is a good thing. I would hate to tie it to town farm. Perhaps the selectmen said, well, let's reach out and get an RFP drafted, but the selectmen haven't committed to affordable housing on that site. The Stoughton Trust has not committed to affordable housing on that site. There's been discussion in town with all the problems with the animal shelter. There has been recent discussions about bringing the animal shelter back to that site. So I think that's a great possibility for affordable housing, and it'd be a great use of the land, but I'd hate to tie this money to that one project. So I agree with that. Secondly, I see that, the selectmen sold the land to Pulte for $5 million. And the interest from that, they do annually give out for, projects that address, the poor in town. They got $5 million. Why aren't they putting in, some money into the game? And to me, I don't know what the income requirements are for the low income housing tax credits. If that's the same as a standard affordable housing, which is what 80% of the area median.
So the low income housing tax credit is 60%.
Okay, so it is lower than that, but perhaps the trustees could use some of their money to do subsidize a portion of the project, subsidize that really hits the poor in town, rather than just the people who meet the affordable housing goals. So I think there's creative ways to do it. There's a long way to go before affordable housing goes on there. So I'm all in support of giving you the $533,000 to use for all the wonderful things that the trust does.
Yeah, I also appreciate that this is a much clearer picture to me from what your original presentation was. So
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
I applaud that clarification, even if it's tied to something that we may not see, but
may or
I
may
do
not be,
understand it as a good project.
It's a good example to show.
Yeah.
That's what we, I think, the only issue, hindsight's 20/20, right? But yeah, I was confused too from the original to this. And maybe which would have been easier, because I think what I'm seeing now is this is an example, you might try to do it, but really your ask is probably like the original ask. What you were trying to do here is show like what a good use would look like.
Absolutely.
But it could be something.
We were trying to react to.
That makes a lot
Right.
of sense. That's why I was picking
Right.
apart the project, because quite honestly, it didn't seem like
Like
ready.
the same
But I get what you're trying to do, you're trying to give a good example. Okay, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we were trying to be responsive to the commentary around the table.
Understood.
But I think as I mean, I hear you. At the end of the day, I think as a committee, we need to decide, and I would rather save that conversation until next week. And,
Yeah.
and, we can do that. Is there any other questions?
I have one question. Go ahead.
Well, just in terms of the RFP that was frequently approved, were there any characteristics to that, or was it like a generic? Is anybody interested in that kind of thing?
I wouldn't say it was generic. What MHP did is they wrote back, they know this site. They know, they know the whole history of everything, right? So they asked some very specific questions, family or age restricted housing, how many units? What are you kind of envisioning density? What, all those kind of questions. Right, home ownership or rent, right? So what they're trying to do is, they have 20 different RFPs, right? So they're trying to pull one off that sort of comes to meet the needs of what the select board or governor seven trustees want and what the town needs. They have a copy of our housing production plan, which went into great detail about the needs of Milton. So that's what they responded to. So the Affordable Housing Trust met, we sort of said, okay, this is how we would answer these questions. We crafted a response, we sent it to the select board, we discussed it with the select board, why we answered, how we answered. And we said, if you want to make changes to those responses, we're all ears, MHP's all ears, but let's get this moved to the next. It doesn't mean that we know exactly what's gonna be built up there, right? It's a framework. And MHP needs that.
We answered some of them pretty explicitly, and others we, to be fair, we punted on a little bit and
Yeah.
said, well, we need more public input on
Right.
this, you know, for instance, so.
And like the sustainability aspect, the passiveness of it, was that a priority?
We
did-
yeah, we did talk about,
absolutely
that would be a top priority, energy efficiency and.
Above just what, the standard permitting,
Because it's the right thing to do from a green perspective, it also saves either the tenant or the homeowner, money.
Like platinum or?
Yeah.
I mean, we're thinking about that, like,
We didn't see, that's where we didn't get into
specific-
specifics, but we did say we wanted energy efficiency and sustainability to be priority in there.
When did you go to the selectmen?
They voted, I mean, it's been a process over the last couple of months, several months, but they voted, at the meeting, 2 meetings ago, I guess.
Okay,
So they voted 4-1.
toward the end of January.
This is very helpful and
Great.
Thank you.
fleshing out the whole leveraging idea as well has been very helpful.
And Julie, so one of the things that makes Julie such a great resource for town and a great chair of the Affordable Housing Trust is her work at POA and her work on some of these projects, the Cape has her fingerprints on it from an affordable housing standpoint as well as other areas. But I just wanted to clarify, Julie, that POA, the organization that employs you, the nonprofit, does tremendous work. It's a great nonprofit, but they would not be a bidder on anything related
no,
to this.
and
Because
that's
sometimes people
something-
ask that
Yep.
question.
And that's something as an organization is true, which.
Even though you're not making the final decision.
Right,
they-
right.
they-
It's still, it's just,
Yeah.
Okay, just to clear that up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I can reach out to many of my competitors. They would love to hear from me.
All right, is there any other questions for Julie? If not, I think to address Kathleen's question about grant agreements and things, I think this committee will want to get legal counsel, whether it's town council or it's outside counsel. We have administrative funds too, a significant portion. So I would advise that the committee we'll be required either to use town council or get outside counsel that we could do that. So I think that's probably at a later meeting, probably after next one. So I think we should have one in March sometime. We probably should decide the next meeting after the 22nd. If we just want to schedule it in March, we should do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next meeting is the 22nd. What if we scheduled the next meeting for like the 15th of March? I mean, I can do anything in there. I'm just wondering 15th or the 22nd. What works for everybody? And I would just say 7 o'clock and 22nd for
15 works. Oh, what's the other one?
She said 27. I said 22nd.
I
That's
think
22nd.
we deserve a little break.
Yeah, that-
Do up to 3 meetings.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
row.
22nd is the forum at the public library that.
Oh, yes, it is.
Thinking about on town farm, ironically.
Well, I would also be fine kicking it to like the 29th if we want to do that. I agree with you. 3 meetings in a row has been tough.
So there's a forum on town farm plan?
There's one.
But we might want it.
But we need to move.
We need to move. Yeah.
What about I would say.
So we can't do the
earlier.
22nd. I would say
20th is working with that. I mean, can we do the 8th? Is that too
8th is.
too soon?
I think if everyone can do the 15th, I would say we do the 15th and then we should be, then I think we can probably take a little bit of a break. So does that work for everybody, the 15th?
Yes.
Because I do think we need to move.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
All right, so we'll do 7 o'clock on the 15th. And then we'll meet next week, 7 o'clock here, and it will be hybrid. We will make sure it's hybrid so that you can join. Other than that, I think we are good.
Cool.
Could be,
I move with the adjourn.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Well done, 9 minutes late, way to go, Rob.
No, we did pretty.
Hey, we did pretty good with 6. Last time it was like 10 o'clock. right?
We could get Richard out of the room.
I know. I was like, hold on, I want to start talking about the last application.
Yeah, here's what we're doing.
Letters from-
Budget.
Is that where the town hall is?